If your charity's contact details are not up to date, we cannot reach you about important news, upcoming webinars, or indeed our e-zine. Public trust in Ireland's charity sector was among the topics explored in some detail in the first public survey for the charities regulator. It confirmed the significant link between greater transparency about a charity's finances and activities and its potential to increase public trust and confidence in it. Ensuring a charity's details on the charities register are accurate and up to date is a simple and easy way for charities to build and maintain greater public trust. So what does your entry on the public register look like? What do the public see? As you will see from the slide here, they will see your name and address. They will see your charity number. They will also see other identifiers where applicable, such as your CHY number or your CRO number. It also identifies what type of organization you are. That might be an association, a trust, a company, or a school. It lists what your charitable purpose is. It sets out what your charitable objects are. And it also has a charity code of governance status. For the majority of charities, information submitted through your annual report form is published on our register. It is a very important source of information for service users, donors, and potential donors, and the general public. As you can see here, this is what information is published on our website from your annual report. So it is vitally important that these are submitted. Submitting your annual report, it is the law to submit this report. As it is displayed on our register, submitting your annual report on time is of paramount importance to demonstrating transparency and accountability. In addition to complying with the law, submitting an annual report provides charities with an excellent opportunity to showcase the good work that they do and to demonstrate their commitment to good governance, transparency, and accountability. The submission deadline for your annual reports is 10 months after the charity's financial year of end date. There is no mechanism for extensions in the Act. Therefore, submit your annual reports on time or as soon as you can thereafter. The Public Register of Charity also details who your trustees are and how long they have been with your charity. Now that I've introduced you to the register and explained its importance, I would like to now turn to how to access it and update the register. What I'd ask you to do after this webinar is to check your charity's entry on the public register. And I'd ask you to check these key pieces of information. Is your charity name correct? Is your legal form correct? Are your legal identifiers correct? Are your charity trustees correct and up to date? Does your chosen charitable purpose accurately reflect the activities that you do? As you're aware yourselves as trustees and people involved in charities, they evolve and change over time. And check to see if the charitable purpose still accurately reflects your charitable activities. Does your charitable objective accurately describe what you do? The charitable objective should make it clear what the charity is set up to achieve, where the charity operates, who the charity helps, and how the charity's goals will be achieved. So this is a very important piece of information that will be on the public register, and I would urge you to ensure that it does describe what you do accurately. Once you've checked the register, you might notice that certain items need updating or indeed improvements, such as your charitable objects. How do you go about this? You can only update the register and submit your annual report through forms on our online portal. In general, this process is straightforward and simple. To access the online portal, you need a customer account. Your customer account allows you to submit an annual report for your charity, update your charity's details on the register. If you have a customer account and an authorised filer with the Charities Regulator's online portal, log in using your login name and password. Now, which is the case for a lot of organisations, if you do not know your login name or your password, or you do not have a customer account or an authorised provider attached to that customer account, You can follow these very simple steps. The first step is to appoint an authorised filer. An authorised filer is the person chosen by your charity to submit forms on your behalf. It is an important role for the charity, so make sure that you choose the right people to have the right access to the charity's account at the right time. And most importantly, take a record of who this person is. Once you have nominated the authorised filer, they need to go to our website and they need to log into our online portal and set up a customer account. The login name, password, and email address entered into this customer account will be connected to the authorised filer's customer account. Please keep a record of these very important details. Once the authorised filer has entered these details, the trustee should make themselves aware of what they are and keep a record of them. In case for some reason or other this person may be unable to file on your behalf, may be absent, may be away, and you may not be able to access the customer account. So it's very important to keep details of this. When you're setting up your customer account, we advise that you use a general non-personal email to which more than one appropriate person in your charity has access to. Once you've taken those 2 steps, the next thing the authorised filer needs to do is log into its newly created customer account and select the authorised filer form through our online portal. When they're doing this, they should have your charity's registered number to hand. And also, very importantly, when they submit this form, it needs to be accompanied by a letter on headed paper signed by a current trustee to give them permission to access the charity account. If the form is not accompanied by a letter, it will be returned to you and this will add to delays. Once this information is submitted, we do verify the information in the charity's regulator, and we will tell you when you can access your account. And then you can begin filing forms, they can begin filing forms on behalf of the charity. There is an overview of the portal when you can access this. You can have a look and familiarise yourself with it after the webinar. Now we come to actually updating the register. We've gone through how to access this, and this is now how you would update the register. I would like to introduce you to a newly launched form, the Charities Detail Verification Form. This is a one-stop shop solution. The form pre-populates the contact details we currently have on record for the charity. So it's very good to actually do a quick sense check of your details and to make sure that your charity name is correct, your charity telephone number is correct, your email address, and so on. So it's very easy to identify where information may be incorrect on this form, and it is a simple and quick form to use. So we would encourage you to, again, after the webinar, to log into your account and to check the charity's verification form. There also is a number of other forms to assist you in updating the register and keeping it accurate. There is a Maintain Trustees Connection and External Advisors form, and you may use this to update, to add or remove charity trustees or to update connections and external advisors. There is the Maintain Contact and Location Operations Detail form, and you can use this form to update your address and email address and telephone number. There is also the Maintain Charities Governance Code Status. You can use this form throughout the year to update your compliance status with the charity's governance code. There is a change of name form, which is obviously what it is. If you wish to change your name, you can use this form. And then finally, there is a change of purpose form. And this form is for organizations that wish to change their charitable purposes, their main objects, or to make amendments to their constitution. And there's guidance, as I said there, with all these forms and navigating the portal. We understand that this can be difficult for some of charities and that kind of thing. So we have developed a lot of helpful tools, and we have guidance, leaflets and FAQs available on our website. And we would welcome you to go and explore these and familiarise yourselves with them. So I'd ask you to act now and ensure the entry on the register is accurate, as the register is a true record of your charity. Ensure that it is controlled. Who has access to your charity account? Make sure it's the right people have the right access. And timely. Don't wait, make it up to date. I will now hand you over to my colleague Elena Krushenko.
Thank you, Megan, and welcome everyone. My name is Elena Krushenko and I'm Head of Compliance Monitoring. So the purpose of my presentation is to explain how to declare your compliance status with the Charities Governance Code and how to keep your Governance Code declaration up to date. I don't intend to go through the code in detail today. There is a lot of information available on the website and links will be provided throughout the presentation. I just wanted to say that the code was developed in consultation with the charity sector as a tool to help charity trustees to comply with their legal duties and responsibilities and to ensure that your charity is effectively managed and controlled. As you know, the code is structured around 6 principles. There are core standards under each principle, which all charities have to comply with. And there are additional standards for more complex charities. It is for the charity trustees to decide if the charity is complex or non-complex for the purposes of the code. But if you need any guidance on that, we have a guidance note available on what is a complex charity, which provides a number of examples and case studies that you may find useful. This is second year that charities have to report on their compliance with the Charities Governance Code. Compliance with the code is declared as part of your annual report, and those who filed an annual report last year would be familiar with this. You will need to answer a couple of questions, and this will depend on your compliance status. If you are in full compliance with the Charities Governance Code, it's quite simple. You just tick the box, and then your declaration of full compliance will be visible on the Public Register of Charities. If your charity is in partial compliance with the code, you'll have to indicate which standards you are not complying with, and you'll have to provide an explanation for partial compliance with the codes. You will have an option to have that declaration visible on the Register of Charities. If you select that option, then the public will see the reasons for partial compliance with the code, and then the standards you're not compliant with. And if that's the option you've picked, just make sure that whatever explanation that you have provided, that you're happy with that explanation. And if your charity is not in compliance with the Charities Governance Code, again, you'll have to provide an explanation for non-compliance. At the moment, the declarations of non-compliance are not currently visible on the Public Register of Charities, but that will change in the future. And also, there is a new option. Charity prefers not to say whether it is in compliance with the Charities Governance Code. This should only be used as a placeholder in exceptional circumstances. For example, the person who is filing an annual report does not have the information that they need to complete that section. So that they may select this option so that the filing of the annual report is not delayed. But then once the compliance status have been confirmed, or once they get the information that they need, they can go back and resubmit the declaration. And I will explain how to resubmit the declaration in a moment. But as I said, it should only be used in exceptional circumstances, and this is something that we will be watching closely. To declare that you're in full compliance with the Charities Governance Code, you must have a completed compliance record form. For those who completed their compliance record form last year, all you need to do is to update it where appropriate. A lot of information will remain more or less the same, but you may need to add or update some information on that form. You don't have to do it from scratch. You can if you want, but you don't have to. You can just simply update the existing form. For those who have not done it before, the compliance record form can be downloaded from the website. And we also have a completed sample compliance record form available for complex charities and non-complex charities. And those forms provide examples of the type of actions you may take to achieve each standards and the evidence you may provide. And hopefully you'll find those useful. As I said, the compliance code declaration can be amended at any time following the submission of your annual report. To update your governance code compliance status, you have to log into your My Account and submit the maintain the governance code status form, which Megan has already mentioned. As I said, you can do it anytime throughout the year, and you can submit the form as many times as you need. For example, if you declare that you are not in compliance and then you became partially compliant, you can log in and update the status. And then once your charity is in full compliance, then you can again log in and update the form, and then the compliance status will be updated and reflected on the Register of Charities. Some of the key challenges, this is based on the information submitted last year. Board appraisal, for example, is one of the challenges. On a practical level, it's about how well the Board of Charity Trustees is performing in relation to its legal duties and responsibilities, and in contributing to the success of the charity. The board should also assess the effectiveness of its board meetings as part of every board evaluation. And we have guidance documents available. Those were published last year. And we have guidance for non-complex charities, and then guidance for complex charities. And those documents explain how to go about board appraisals. And there are a number of sample forms that you can use. Term limits for charity trustees. As you know, charities should establish term limits for all charity trustees to ensure steady renewal of the Board of Trustees. Different charities may have different term limits. Term limits may be set by your governing documents, so make sure that you check it. And if it's not in your governing document, this is something you should consider. And the Charities Governance Code recommends that the term limit should be 9 years, but again, different charities may have different terms. We have updated the guidance on succession planning to include a section in relation to the term limits. So if you haven't seen it, please look at that guidance. It is an important conversation to have, and this guidance can be used as a framework to have that discussion at board level. And then lastly, risk management. Again, this is also an important area. It's about trying to identify any possible risks that charities may face and the actions that you may take to address those risks. And it's not about trying to eliminate all those risks. It's about minimizing the impact of those. And again, the guidance document is there to assist charities with this. So that's the end of my presentation. As I said, there is a lot of information available on the website. There is also a dedicated email address, governance.code@charitiesregulator.ie, for any governance code related queries. Thank you.
There have been a number of questions coming through, and we have about 6 or 7 minutes left. So we'll run through as many as we can. Apologies if we don't get to yours. First one, I think one's for you, Megan. Is there a minimum amount of money that a small organisation may raise without having to register with the Charities Register?
The answer to that is no. So if you have a charitable purpose and you are advancing that charitable purpose, you should be registered as a charity. So it doesn't really come down to monetary amounts and whether you should do something or not do something. If you do have a charitable purpose and you're advancing it, you should be registered.
Another question coming in. If your charitable purpose and objectives are in need of updating, or you are launching a review process or public consultation with the view to expanding this or being more ambitious, what is the process?
The process is, as I said there is a change of purpose form, and it is simply about submitting that information to us. And for example, if you are going to select a new charitable purpose to advance, you must be able to demonstrate to us how you will advance that or how you currently advance it. So it's about demonstrating to the charities regulator what actions and activities you have in place in order to advance the purpose. And with respect to, for example, changes in constitution, again, you use the, and a change in constitution might include changing your main object. So it's about using the change of purpose form and submitting the constitution with us with the change of the main object, and then we will review that and assess that. And if we need further information or clarification, we will engage with the charity in relation to that. So the main form for those kind of changes is the change of purpose form, and it's available in our portal.
Another question, can I update the trustee information after I have filed the annual report?
Absolutely, you can update any of your charity information at any time throughout the year. And I would suggest perhaps that, you put it into, charities put it into their calendar that maybe once a year that they check that their information is up to date, and just as by routine, and then go in and check the register and update it. So you submit your annual report at the appointed time, but any of the other changes can be done at any time throughout the year. And I wouldn't wait until you were submitting your annual report to do this. It's open to you to do that at any time throughout the year.
This is actually a very important question. How do you define what is a charity?
What is a charity is defined under the Act, and that sets out what a charity is, and we call it basically the charity test. And you must advance a charitable purpose and charitable purpose only. You must benefit the public, a section of the public or the general public. And you must make sure that all your income and property remains within the charity sector. And I think generally speaking, that's it, and that you have a charitable purpose and that you advance it. So essentially, you have a charitable purpose, you advance it, you benefit the public or a section of the public, and that all income and property remains in the charitable sector.
And we have guidance on the website in relation to defining what a charity is. Another question is it necessary to have the individual phone numbers and emails of all trustees and board of management members on file, as some people may not wish to have the information made public?
The information that we have on the public register it is only the name and the length of time they have been with the charity. No other personal or personal data is displayed on the public register. It is kept securely in our back office systems.
One of the governance code, what year evidence needs to be submitted in 2022? Is it for the year 2021 or for 2022?
Your governance code compliance declaration doesn't relate to your financial year end. It's at the date that you submit your annual report. If you submit your annual report today, as of today, what is the status? Are you in compliance or not? So it does not relate to your financial year end.
Just one person has asked us, can you please go over again the procedure necessary to appoint a new member to access and update the account?
I think what would be most helpful is when you go onto our website, we've actually developed a lot of how-to leaflets, we call them, that set out the steps in order to take these actions. So these are leaflets that you can go onto our website, there's an orange button that says login, and if you press that, you'll come across sets of how-to leaflets that have step-by-step the step-by-step process. And I think that's probably where the best place for you to go, and you can have that and read through that in your own time. And then if you do have any queries or concerns, you can come back to us and ask us.
And just to be clear, you don't actually have to log in to access those.
No, you don't.
Just click on the login button. Do you need to upload your compliance record form?
No, there is no need to upload your compliance record form. All you have to do is complete your annual report section in the annual report, but you don't need to submit your compliance record form. You have to keep it on file because we may request it at any time as part of our compliance review program.
Do we need to do all the items on an annual basis? For example, review the constitution. This was performed by the trustees in 2020. Does it need to be done every year, or can we state it was done in 2020?
In relation to your constitution or governing documents, that is a document that doesn't need to be reviewed on an annual basis, but it might be something that, again, that you put in the agenda to review over a certain period of time, be that 3 years or 5 years, or when it becomes necessary due to something that's occurred that you need to amend it. But it's not something that you need to review on an annual basis. But again, it might be good practice that it's checked every 3 years or 5 years. I wouldn't give a time frame. It's up to the board to decide that themselves. But it would be good practice just to check in every couple of years to make sure that it's up to date and relevant.
There's one for you, Elaine, really. If you can't get anyone to volunteer in the board or serve as a volunteer of the board, can current members stay on if they're willing to do so?
It is, as I said, for the charity trustees to decide what's appropriate, and there are circumstances where people may stay on the board for longer, but it's all about the board of trustees having that discussion and having the reasons for somebody who is longer than 9 years, for example. If all of the trustees understand the circumstances, the discussion took place, it's properly documented, then it's okay. The 9 year it's only a suggestion, but all charities have different circumstances and term limits may be different from one charity to another.
This is another one coming through. Do non-profits that are companies limited by guarantee need to register with the charities regulator?
That would entirely depend on the type of organisation that you were. Not all non-profits are charitable in nature, so that would again go back to whether or not you had a charitable purpose and a charitable purpose only, if you benefit the public or a section of the public. So it's not that all non-profits are not charities and you don't necessarily have a charitable purpose, so it is dependent on the individual organisation. And if you do think that you do have a charitable purpose and you do benefit the public, you can make an application to us, but it's not the case that if you're a not-for-profit that you are therefore a charity.
Can a charity have several authorised accounts or only a single account to which several authorised individuals have access?
They can have several accounts, but we would recommend that you control access to the charity account. And if you do have authorised filers, that you know who they are and you understand who has access. And if somebody is to leave the charity, that you remove that access. So it's really up to the charity to make sure that that interaction with our portal is controlled and you know who has access or who doesn't. And if you wish to terminate access, you can do so through our portal. So it's up to the charity to record who has access and to remove it when it's no longer appropriate.
I think we'll finish on that note. Again, thank you all very much for joining us. If you have further questions, please don't hesitate to send them in. And particularly, we're looking for suggestions for other webinars that we can host. Again, thank you all.